Hey again, it's your art teacher, Mr. Guera, and I'm back once again to teach you how to make this wonderful wildflower watercolor masterpiece. And paired with this work of art is Buzu trading card number 8, FLORA. This pretty plant is packed with power gathered from liquid, light, and air. She comes from a planet where plants are people, and her mission is to learn about the life cycles of other plant life in the Buzuverse. FLORA's classifications are nature, well, of course, because she is after all a plant, and identity, because she is a botanist. Alright, we're going to start out with a sheet of paper. Make sure that it is portrait. You're also going to need a black marker. I'm using a Sharpie, as well as a watercolor kit. And of course, with every watercolor kit, there must be a container of water. And for this project, I'm going to use a slightly larger brush. You can find a link for all of these art supplies in the description below. First, what you want to do is open up your watercolor kit and take your brush. It can be any size. I'm going to use this big one like I said before. The bristles are nice and dry. Let's change that. I'm going to make them wet. Nice. And I'm going to add 3 drops to my purple. 1, 2, and 3 drops. And now I'm going to take my brush and very gently make a little bit of a puddle. And let's start with some smaller ovals. And these ovals are going to be for purple petals. First oval goes straight up and down, vertically. And then I'm going to do a diagonal petal that goes diagonally to the left and the right, as well as diagonally facing down, like pointing toward the bottom right and left corners of the paper. Now to make all of these wildflowers, we want to make them in pairs, 2 at a time. So I'm going to do another set of wildflowers with purple petals on the lower right side of the paper. Notice that there's 5 petals. They kind of make a star shape actually. Okay, so next what I'm going to do is I need to clean off the purple watercolor from the paintbrush. So I'm going to drag it carefully side to side on the bottom of my water container. This is going to make sure that all of that purple paint comes right off. It's now time to choose my next color, so I'm going to add 3 dots once again. 1, 2, and 3 drops in my orange. Make a puddle inside your orange watercolor very gently. And let's continue. The next shape that I want to do is going to be a football shape. That is a football shape if the football were pointing up. So an easier way to think about this might be an oval with pointy ends. So I've got in the upper right corner of the paper my orange tulip, but the buds are closed. I need to do another one that's kind of lower down the same side, closer toward the bottom right corner. Okay, looking good. I think after I'm done here, it's time to switch to a new color because I've done my 2 flowers. Drag the brush back and forth. You can see the orange watercolor just coming out and blending into the water. Brush is nice and clean. It's time for color number 3. I'm going to choose this red. 2, 3 drops. Gently make a puddle. And it's also worth mentioning that you don't want to move your water kit around too much because you have these puddles in there now. And as you can see, they can spill easy. With my red watercolor paint, I'm going to paint a circle. Now remember, with watercolor paints, you don't want to oversaturate the paper. Oversaturate, that's a big word. It just means don't put too much water on the paper. Go around for a few strokes, and it should kind of be more of a pink than a straight up red. If it's too dark of a red, you might be oversaturating with too much paint and too much water. Okay, so now that we've got our 2 red circles, let's clean off our brush once again and move on to our next color. So get your bristles wet, and here we go. Count with me. And 1, and 2, and 3 drops of water. Make it into a little baby puddle very carefully. And now it's time to make tulips, yellow tulips. To make this flower, it's really simple. All you're going to do is start with the letter U. So watch closely. Letter U. I'm going to curve it down and back up, and then across the top of my letter U, I'm going to paint a wavy line and fill it in. I know, it looks super light, but that's okay. The yellow usually dries darker. And you want it to be super light because that's how watercolor works. It's always going to be a lighter version of what you actually see in there. And that's what makes the pastel colors really come out and really make this springtime bouquet of wildflowers that we're working on look so much better. Seeds are pretty much baby plants. With the right amount of light, water, and placed in the right kind of soil, a seed will start to grow roots. From there, it grows and grows until it is an adult plant with seeds of its own that fall to the ground, beginning the process all over again. Polyflora's first special ability is camouflora, like camouflage and floral. While disguised as a flower, her pillow petals just float around in the air and end up putting other Buzu to sleep. Alright, so as you can see, I've got my 2 yellow flowers. It's time to clean off my brush once again by dragging the bristles back and forth along the bottom of the water container. And there's just one more color that we need, and that color is going to be brown. So let's dip the brush in water again, and we're going to add 3 drops to our brown. 2 and 3. I'm going to mix it up a little bit, just like I have with the last few colors, and we're going to make a small circle in the center of our purple petals. 1 for the top one, 1 for the bottom one. Looks great. Okay, so now that we have the painting completed, we need to clean off our brush one last time. Back and forth, back and forth. What we're going to do now is we are going to place the water container down and let our painting completely dry. Let it sit still for about maybe an hour or so, and then get out your black marker. And with your black marker, we are going to start creating the vertical lines that are going to be our flowers' stems. Remember, vertical, of course, means up and down. And we are going to use the technique of overlapping. So anything that you painted, do not draw on top. We want those flowers that have been painted with these beautiful watercolors to overlap the line. So don't draw on top of your paintings, just go around them or continue and start on either side. Now let's put in some cool details. We're going to start with the red flowers and make these bow tie leaves. They kind of look like number 8s, or I think they more accurately look like bow ties. You're going to draw a loop on both the right and left side of the stem, unless of course you've got a flower that's kind of in the way, and then you can just leave one of those loops off. But I want you to go on both of the stems that belong to those red flowers. Go all the way up to the top. Do your very best, and when you're done, it's going to be time to move on to our next detail. Now for our yellow flowers, we're going to make longer leaves that come off from the roots. So for the small one, I'm going to do this V-shaped leaf, and then I only have enough room for one side on the yellow. Now let's turn our attention to the purple petal flowers. We're going to make football-sized leaves with little zigzags on the inside. Remember to get both of them. You can spread them out, put as many or as few on as you'd like. And when you're done, last but not least, is going to be the orange flowers, which just get the same kind of additional leaves that are just diagonal lines that face up. Let's put a swirl inside of our red flowers, which kind of gives them the look of a rose. So take your marker and very carefully just go around and around. Go nice and slow. Do the best you can. And of course, have some fun. Next, for the details on the flowers, they're much the same. You want to put a swirl on the inside, that brown circular center, and then on the purple petals, you're also going to want to put the swirl on each one. Except, of course, because the petals are more of an oval, you want your swirl to take the shape of an oval. If you did that on the one flower, of course, you're going to do it on the other. And again, I remind you, take your time. All artists know that they can take their time. It's not a race, because taking your time is what produces the best results. So put a swirl on each one of those petals. And next, we're going to get to our yellow flowers. Outline that letter U that you first painted with, then follow along the wavy line on the top and give me a curved line and then a smaller curved line, and don't forget the dots along the bottom. Letter U, curved line, there we go, a smaller one, and dots along the bottom. Great. Last but not least, let's get to those orange petals. I'm just going to do more curved lines, but with dots at the end. Just go back and forth, making them longer and longer and longer until you filled up both sides. Oh, that looks fantastic. And don't forget the other one, of course. This time I'm going to kind of go rogue with it. I'm going to go longest first, and then small, and then fill all the in-betweens in. Nice. I think this looks great. This is a nice detail that really does give it its wildflower look. Did you know that seeds are smart? Yeah, I know. I didn't believe it either. Seeds smart? What? But when a seed is planted into the ground under the right conditions, somehow it knows which way is up and which way is down. It doesn't matter which direction the seed is planted, the roots always grow down, searching for more water to drink. Later, the stem always grows up, seeking the light and the air. See? Smart. It's all part of the process by which the seed grows into a seedling called germination. When Polyflora uses her seeds in Buzu battle, it's called the Germinator. She spreads seeds that instantly grow into vines that ensnare her opponents. The Germinator. The Germinator! I'll be snacks. Because sometimes seeds are in trail mix, and trail mix is a delicious snack. I'll be snacks. Let's move on to the lesson. Now it's time to once again turn our attention to the watercolor. This time I'm going to use the brush that came with the kit. So I'm going to place 3 drops inside my green. 1 more drop. And then of course, if you remember, we made little tiny puddles in there. And now it's time to paint the stems and the leaves that we just drew with our black markers. So after you've gotten your bristles all loaded up with that beautiful bright green watercolor, you're going to trace on top of your marker line, and you can put this green watercolor on both sides to kind of thicken it up, make it look really nice. And once you've done that, add more to the actual bow tie leaves that we put on before. Now every once in a while I like to add an additional drop of water to my green paint and continue to kind of make that puddle. You don't want to make the puddle so that it's overflowing, but you will need to kind of refresh that paint so that you can keep going back and paint the whole thing in. We're going to move now on to that first really tall purple petal flower. I'm going to trace the green watercolor all the way up. And you might notice that I'm going from left to right, and that's so that my hand doesn't accidentally get into the watercolor paint itself as I'm painting. My palm is going over the driest parts of the painting, which are all on the right side, so I don't have to worry about accidentally smudging the watercolors. Okay. After I'm done with my purple plant, it's time to move on to the 2 yellow ones. And again, when it's just a vertical line, you want to make it extra thick. So I'm going to go up one side and also the other. And on the ends, at the very top, I'm going to loop the green watercolor around and back down. I think that gives it a really interesting look. Don't forget the stem. Excellent, excellent. Just a tip for you lefties out there, if you are left-handed, if you paint and draw and write with your left hand, you want to do just the opposite of what I'm doing right now. I started on the left side of the painting and I'm working my way all the way to the right. But if you're a lefty, you want to start on the right side of the painting and work all the way to the left. It just goes the other direction. All right, so now we're on to that second red wildflower, and we are painting in the bow tie puddles again, getting each and every one, making it look nice. You can control how dark or light your green is by how much water you're using, and now's a great time to experiment with that. If your green is coming out really light, that means that you've added a few drops of water. Keep using it until that water runs out and has been placed on the painting. And when you have less water in, you will see that your green comes out a lot darker. And this is how we can control how our colors appear on our artwork masterpieces with watercolor. Another technique for making your greens darker, which we unfortunately will not be doing as a part of this project, but you're more than welcome to try it out at home, is to mix just a couple drops of black into your green. But don't mix them inside your watercolor kit, mix them on the paper. And don't use a lot of watercolor either, otherwise it could get messy. We don't mix our watercolors inside the kits because it becomes a little bit more challenging and difficult to restore them back to their original color. So you always want to do your watercolor mixing on either a scrap sheet of paper or on the artwork itself. Great! I'm on my last little bit here, so I'm painting this one leaf, and just like I had previously, I'm going to curve the end and make that leaf seem like it extends a little bit past the line. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually add leaves without using the marker. I'm going to do those football shaped lines. I'm going to go nice and slow, and I'm going to add them onto the stem of the longest orange wildflower, and I'm going to put them on the smaller one as well. And I think it looks really interesting if you just paint without the black marker. Oh, it looks fantastic. I love it. After you're done, of course, we've got to clean our watercolor brush one more time. So I'm going to go back and forth on the bottom of my water container to get all of the green paint off those bristles. And look at that, you're done.
I did it.
Now all you have to do is let both your watercolor kit and your painting dry out, and you are good to go. Well done.
Okay, as we've already said, plants need light, air, and water to live. The light is usually provided by the sun, but can also come from special UV lights. Green plants can use that light to create food for itself from the carbon dioxide in the air and the water that its roots get from the ground. Now this process is called photosynthesis, which ultimately produces the same oxygen that you and I breathe every day. Polysynthesis is the name of one of Flora's special abilities. She extracts sunlight absorbed by flowers for extra power. Now, if at this point in the video you're still working on your wonderful wildflower watercolor, keep going. Don't stop believing. You and me make a great pair, and I'm rooting for you. Okay, enough of the plant-based puns. Just like a seed germinating into a flower, great art can take time too, so be patient and give it your best effort. That's all I've got for now. I will see you next time. Now, lettuce, turnip, that beat! Sorry, I couldn't help myself with the puns.
Planting the seeds of your artistic greatness? Don't forget to download and print your character sheet for FLORA. Link in the description below.
I'll be snacks.